So, what would you say is the weirdest introduction you have ever had to a franchise? Like maybe you started off with a strange installment that didn't really give you the full idea of the series, or maybe you learned about it through something completely unrelated. Like my first introduction to anything Zelda related wasn't any of the games or even Smash Brothers, but instead the GameCube version of Soul Calibur 2. So when I saw Link in other games, I was just like, oh, it's that guy from Soul Calibur 2. Or heck, my introduction to the Rayman series wasn't one of the big platformers, but instead Rayman Raving Rabbids TV Party on the Wii. So I didn't see Rayman as this happy, jovial character. Instead, I saw him as this miserable person. It's really funny looking back at where you first started with many of these franchises. Like, you know where I first learned about anything Star Wars related? It wasn't the movies, it wasn't Clone Wars, not Battlefront, not this thing. It was instead this. Lego Star Wars is a childhood classic of mine. It's the game that got me not only into Star Wars, but also Lego in general. It's a game I have a lot of nostalgia for, and it set the groundwork for many Lego games going forward. So today, since the game just turned 20 this year, why don't we take a deep dive into it and see where everything began? Full disclosure though, we're just looking at the original game. I'll do some comparisons between this and Complete Saga, but mainly I just want to talk about the original Lego Star Wars. I wouldn't really call this the start of an ongoing video series, but hey, who knows, maybe someday we can go into the other Lego games. But again, for today, I just want to focus on this little gem from 2005. This was helmed by Traveler's Tales. Before then, they were known for a few Sonic titles and a good amount of Pixar games, which yours truly has covered, but they would be the main Lego developers going forward, and even now they are still doing Lego games. It was on all the 6th gen platforms for the time, as well as the Game Boy Advance, though I'm not going to be looking at that version for today, mostly because, again, I just want to focus on the console game. But if you get the chance, look at the cutscenes for this version of the game. They are hilarious. I love how Obi-Wan and Anakin are using their Padawan designs, and Anakin looks very calm while he's burning in lava. So I got the console game, I want to say in 2007? It was a Christmas gift, and I got it on the GameCube, and I remember looking at the cover art and being intrigued by it. Like, again, I didn't really watch Star Wars yet, so when I saw this cover, I wanted the context for these characters. Like, who's this guy in the front? Who's that green guy? And why is there a giant floating helmet in the background? And why are they all standing in lava? They should all be burning right now. But I played through it and it was so much fun. It was a game I just always had a good time with. But then later on I played Complete Saga on the Wii and I never touched the original game again. But that's what this video is for. I want to see what the original Lego Star Wars was all about and to see where exactly it all started. So let's finally get into it. So you start off with only Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, and you're thrust into Dexter's Diner, which is your hub world. I gotta say, I really like this place. It's not super big, but I love the atmosphere that this location gives off, and the music is so calming yet mysterious at the same time. Honestly, I associate the music more so for this hub world than I do in the actual film it originates from. On the topic of the music, just to quickly go through it, it's great. I mean, it's the music from the prequel film, so it's gonna sound good. Though Revenge of the Sith is very weird. See, since this game came out before the film was out, they couldn't use the music from that film, so instead they just used music from the original trilogy for the Revenge of the Sith stages, and some of it works okay, but other times it really doesn't fit at all. I'd share some of the music, but since it's Star Wars, I don't really want to get stabbed with a copyright strike, so just take my word for it. I'm just glad Complete Saga just used the actual score from the film. So basically, LEGO Star Wars adapts the prequel trilogy, and I think it does a pretty decent job retelling the stories from these films. Like, it's not amazing, but I think it gets the job done. I do find it interesting that, again, since Revenge of the Sith wasn't out yet, they actually used some deleted scenes from the film for a few segments, and I think that's pretty cool. But what I like most is how charming the cutscenes are. They're just really fun to watch. It's not gonna make you laugh so hard, but it is really cute. I also just like the simpler minifigure designs for the characters. They all look really adorable in the older LEGO art style. Like, sure, they aren't as detailed as future games, but I still like how simple they all look. I think the game in general looks pretty nice. This is the GameCube version, so it probably looks a lot better on something like the Xbox and PC, but I still think this version looks pretty good. And now for the gameplay, well, this is the LEGO game that started everything. The core gameplay is still here. You go through each stage beating up a bunch of enemies while also solving basic puzzles on the occasion. The game feels very nice. Like, the control scheme is incredibly simple, but it works really well. Like, even 20 years later, the core gameplay still holds up pretty well. Like, the first chapter you play tells you everything you need to know about this game. How to use the Force, the combat, what the collectibles are, the panels you'll need certain droids to activate. This is such a great introduction level to what this game is gonna be like. I'd say all the stages were pretty good. They aren't as in-depth as future LEGO games, but they work well enough when playing casually. My favorites are definitely the first Attack of the Clones stage, and the final level of the Revenge of the Sith section. The former just has such a cool atmosphere going for it. It really nails the tone the scene had in the film, and the latter, I mean, it's just epic. And I love that if you're playing in co-op, both players fight each other. It's so cool. By the way, that was kind of a big feature this game introduced. Drop in and drop out co-op. Sure, it's nothing crazy nowadays, but the idea of having another player just drop in and drop out at any time during the game is just a really welcome addition to have. As for the vehicle stages, they were pretty decent. They all feel pretty good, and I dig the change of pace they provide. I really like the pod racing level in particular. I think that one was really fun. Plus, I like that these stages are the only ones where you can get every mini kit on your first playthrough. Speaking of, this is the first LEGO game to introduce mini kits. You have 10 in each stage to get. You will need to revisit some of these stages in free play mode to get them all, but honestly, this is probably the easiest LEGO game to get every mini kit. Like I said, in the vehicle stages, you can grab them all in one go, but even regular stages, a good amount of them you could just grab on your first playthrough. Like, some of these are just lying around that you can get with ease. In fact, there is one mini kit in the third stage of the Phantom Menace that is impossible to avoid, since it's right above where the stage exit is. There is also the goal of getting True Jedi on every stage, and unlike the mini kits, I actually think this is one of the harder LEGO games to reach the full meter. See, since the stages aren't very long and there aren't any multipliers to speak of, you don't have a lot of wiggle room to get a lot of studs. You really gotta look through these stages and collect as many studs as you can. And also, if you die, you lose a good amount of them, and the meter goes down. Like, sure, some of these stages, like the bosses, aren't hard to get True Jedi since they usually don't have a big requirement, but stuff like the second Phantom Menace level and the fourth Revenge of the Sith level with the respawning enemy areas make getting True Jedi incredibly difficult since you're dealing with so many enemies at once. But still, it's manageable to do, though I would recommend trying to do True Jedi in your story playthrough, and then save the mini-kit cleanup for free play. I wouldn't recommend doing both at the same time, it's not fun. There is, of course, incentive to getting all the mini-kits in True Jedi. With the former, you get to build these really cool mini-builds that will also give you a bunch of studs. I also always found it so satisfying when the set is being built, it just feels so good. And if you get True Jedi on every stage, you unlock a bonus level set during New Hope, where you get to play as Darth Vader. It's not terribly long, but it is a really cool reward, and a nice teaser for things to come. So yeah, I did 100% this game, got all the characters, minikits, True Jedi, all that stuff. Unlike later games though, there is no percentage meter, it just gives you the total amount of studs you have. You just gotta know you got everything. I just think this is a very well made game. The controls feel great, the levels, while simple, work very well, the cutscenes are adorable, the 100% experience is pretty fun, and it's just a really well crafted game. The question that a lot of you might have on your mind though, is there any reason to go back to this game where a complete saga already exists? Well, That's a little tricky. Number one, this game is not available on modern platforms. You can only play the original LEGO Star Wars on the platforms it was originally released on, so it is a little inaccessible. I mean, at least with LEGO Star Wars 2, you can play that on the newer Xbox systems, and the PSP version is on PS4 and 5. Number 2, a lot of the stuff that this game has is already in Complete Saga and then some. This game notably had a lot of scrapped levels, including one for Attack of the Clones. That's why Episode 2 only has 5 levels instead of 6, but if you played Complete Saga, you get that scrapped level brought back. You just get a lot more with Complete Saga, but that's not to say everything from the original game made it over. I mean, the hub world isn't in that game, and Yoda has a hover chair. That was an incomplete saga, so hey, that's something. So it's a little tricky for me to say. If you just want to experience the best way to play this game, then yeah, you're probably better off with Complete Saga. But if you're the type of person who is fascinated by what an older version of a game was like, and you have nostalgia for a game like this, then yeah, I still think the original version is still a really good game. It's just got such a different vibe compared to later LEGO games. Like, everything from future installments is still here for the most part, but you can definitely tell it still isn't as refined as later games. The shorter stages, with how easy the mini kits are to get, how much more difficult the stud bar is, and just how very simple this game is compared to future LEGO games. But like I said, I still think this is an incredibly well crafted game, and it's a classic for a reason. But that's all the time we have for today. If you liked this video, give it a like, and if you're new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Plus, if you've experienced the original LEGO Star Wars game, what do you think of it? I'm curious if any of you grew up with this iteration. But I hope you all have an amazing day, and take care. Bye!
Huh?